Good morning. Welcome to the county board meeting. Would you please join me through the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing on the agenda is open forum. The only person signed up is Kelly Cole.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
You'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, real quick, I'm part owner of Cole's Auto Salvage. I inherited it, me and my sisters, from my father when he passed away. I got a letter yesterday, I got a bunch of them, stating I need to get everything out of there in 8 days. I'm in compliance with the state of Minnesota. I paid the Cronin County treasurer, like I do every year, junkyard, salvage yard, permit operations. In the letter, it says something about a sewage spilling out. My son built a brand new house there. It's a brand new sewer system. The toilet malfunctioned, filled up the water tank, the sewer tank. He had to pump the effluent out of it. It's actually getting inspected today. He's a licensed installer through the state of Minnesota. And then I got a letter from my own property, where it's zoned commercial residential. I've run a towing business out of there for 20 years. Never had a problem, never had a complaint. All of a sudden they want me to vacate, get rid of all my stuff. I mean, basically these letters are ordering me to end 2 family businesses. I've never had a problem where I live. I understand that the salvage yard, no one likes the salvage yard. We're in the process of, we're about halfway there, of getting rid of everything. There's cars that are crushed, staged, ready to go when the market's, the price is halfway decent, so we can actually make some money. I just don't understand how, and they say vermin and insects, disease, causing microorganisms, hazardous materials that have seeped into the ground due to old vehicles, batteries, undrained, crushed vehicles, rusted hold. I have no idea where these rusted holding tanks are. There is cars there. It's a salvage yard. Current septic system must be brought in. It's a brand new septic system. It wasn't done. It's literally getting inspected today from the county at 1 p.m. And then my towing business, where I raised my family and stuff. I have cars there. I deal with cars. That's part of the business. My son has a excavating business, so there's equipment there. I have probably 5 personal vehicles. I mean, I'm not trying to do anything wrong, and I talked to Bethany Ingram, which was a very nice lady. And she's like, yeah, some reason you're in the gray area. I'm like, I don't understand what the problem is. But I will say the salvage yard probably looks worse than it has, because we have tore down part of the fence to get at the stuff, to get it all out of there. We're in the process of doing that. There's no way I can't get rid of it in 8 days. I can't get rid of my stuff in 8 days. It's my business. One's a partly owned business with me and my sisters. And anyways, I just hope this stuff can be all taken care of, and I don't have to worry about, like, I'm not doing anything wrong, I guess. It is part of the nature of the beast. If you're in the towing business, you're going to have cars. If you're in the auto salvage business, excuse me, you're going to have cars. There's cars there. It's always been cars there. It's been there for 40 years. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to address everybody and say I'm not trying to do anything wrong. I am trying to clean up the salvage business. It's in the process of being ended, but I need another year at least. I mean, but I'm paid up. I got the checkbook right here where I paid 2/13/2023, Cronin County Treasury, $100, and I was put on their junkyard salvage permit operations, and I don't understand why all of a sudden I'm being told to shut down and get rid of everything that I can't even possibly do in 8 days, not even in probably 8 months. I need like a year at least. I want it done. I want to be done with it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I did actually tell Kelly, we talked yesterday, and I told Kelly to come and talk at open forum, just so the board would know what's going on, and I am familiar with this property, and there is no way that Kelly and his family can get this cleaned up in 8 days. That's just not realistic. So I did talk to Chris Pence, and Chris, I did talk to you yesterday, so I'm hoping you've got some further information. If you've got any information at all, I don't know if you do or not, but I think we've got to try to work with Kelly, and if he does have a salvage, well, he does have a salvage license. I'm just wondering where we're at with this, Chris. I know we usually don't comment, Madam Chair, at open forum, but I think this is important because we're not going to want to go after Kelly after 8 days when they've got thousands of cars there, and there's just no way that they're going to haul those out of there in 8 days. That's just not realistic. So, Chris, do you know kind of where we're at now, or what do you?
Yeah, good morning. The inspection happened last week. It was with Bethany was there, along with Stephanie Shook from the county attorney's office, and then Dylan Christensen from our office. I wasn't on the site, and so it couple of issues I just would maybe bring up, especially the septic system. So when they're out there, they did see there was a tank in the ground, and there was a pump in the tank, and it was pumping water out. So at that point, that kind of raises the red flags for us that when we see that we have some concerns. And so obviously now it's being rectified with the drain field going in, installation permit. That's all been taken care of. But at the time, it was a little bit of a red flag when we see a pump and trying to get that, because they had. I mean, obviously now we know the situation, and there was nobody at the site when we went there to really get some more information. So the issue you run into out with the salvage yard is that there's a couple of issues. One is that it's zoned rural residential 10, and to have a junk salvage yard, that's not an allowed use in that district. And so that's allowed in the agricultural district with a conditional use permit. But due to the fact that it's been operating for as many years that it has been, it's considered a legal nonconformity. It's operated and been there, so they can continue that as long as the operation has not discontinued at some point for more than a year in time. And so I think that's part of one of the questions that comes up with this type of thing is that. The other thing is that, as he had mentioned, Kelly mentioned, that we have requirements to the ordinance as far as what does a junk salvage yard need to follow to be in compliance, and one is screening, and that, and I've been to the site, I've driven by it a couple of times myself, and obviously the fencing that was there is now down, and so there's more things obvious and easier to see than maybe it was before, and so I do think we can provide more time. I mean, we're not here to, we're just, that public health nuisance is basically statutory, where you have that 10 days and you can go with, but we can definitely, work with Kelly on that. And I think maybe after this, I'd just like to step out in the hall and we just have a quick conversation, talk a little bit. So I'm on the agenda a little bit later, but I think I'll have time to maybe talk.
Yeah, if you
Kelly
could,
quick
Madam Chair, if Chris could work with Kelly to get this figured out. I mean, if he's got a salvage license, and I think you got a lot of issues to work out here. And if you can work those out, I mean, I know this board isn't like the big giant hammer we're coming down on people. We're just trying to, abide by our ordinances. So anyway, I just wish Chris could work with Kelly to try to figure out how to rectify this, so.
I wish you would too. I know that Kohl's has been out there forever. I know my husband has gone out there and gotten parts before. And so I know it's not a new business, and maybe just putting the fence up and do the thing. I don't know, but.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Okay, next thing is review and approve the minutes from the May 23rd meeting.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Coring. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review and approval of today's agenda. There's no changes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Coring. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lubke. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. If there's no discussion, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Hoag. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
No.
carries. Okay. MCIT report.
Well, good morning, Madam Chair. Hi, Commissioners. Welcome and thank you for the time on your agenda here this morning. For our 2023 MCIT report to our county board. My name is Tom Supis, and I am your MCIT risk management consultant. Now, we typically provide this report every other year. However, we canceled in 2021, unfortunately, due to COVID, and so it actually has been 4 years since our last report to you. So with that, a special welcome to Commissioner Lubke. So welcome.
Thank you.
So respecting your time, I'm just going to touch on really just a few of the highlights of our 2023 report. Now, as you may already know, MCIT is a joint powers public entity risk-sharing pool. We're not an insurance company. We were built by counties for counties. And so as a result, we try to be very responsive to our county's coverage needs and service needs. So we're constantly adjusting and adapting to your needs. Just a little history, back in the late 70s is when coverage for workers' compensation was becoming very difficult, primarily for law enforcement, and very expensive. And so a number of our counties decided to pool their funds to provide coverage for workers' compensation, pay the claims and the service, and it was extremely successful. And so actually in the early 80s is when the MCIT added the property coverage, the casualty or the liability coverage, and the auto as well. And thankfully, again, Crow Wing County joined MCIT in 1982. So we thank you for coming on board very early in our process. So now, really 44 years later, we actually now have 81 of the 87 counties, so really all but the 6 self-insured counties. That's Hennepin and Ramsey, Anoka and Dakota, St. Louis, and Olmsted counties are the 6 counties that are not in the trust. We also provide coverage for all of your affiliated entities as well. Your soil and water conservation districts, historical societies, agricultural societies, a variety of joint powers groups, lake improvement districts, economic development authorities. So these are all public entities that are affiliated with our counties. Again, we believe our success is really built on our dedication to you to really try to adjust our coverage, but I think more importantly, just our members, your willingness to really reduce the frequency and the severity of claims for all of MCIT, supporting our loss prevention and our risk management strategies, and then your commitment to our program and our services. It kind of boils down to all of us with the same mission. We're all kind of on the same team, if you will, providing Minnesota counties and associated members cost-effective coverage with comprehensive and quality risk management services. And that is what we're about. Let me turn you on to the second page. Let's just talk about cyber a little bit. Again, MCIT's cyber coverage was preserved and actually enhanced for 2023. We learned in about mid-2022 that our carrier was not going to renew our cyber coverage for all of our MCIT members. Now, it wasn't due to MCIT's experience. Actually, it was really quite good. Really, that carrier was just backing out of cyber coverage almost completely. And so as a result, we went out to try to find a new cyber carrier, and we did. We actually went with our liability reinsurer, Counties Reinsurance Limited, provided a great cyber program, actually increased limits and sublimits. There's no additional contribution cost for any of our members, as well as no of that strict underwriting obligations that can happen for those that went out into the market. So again, a great success, I think, with our cyber coverage. Moving to the dividend, I guess we all like to talk about the dividends. The 2022 dividend only reflected the workers' compensation division. You see the total declared dividend was $7 million for all of our members. Crow Wing County's share of that dividend, $147,004. So again, workers' compensation only. Typically, this was really the first year that property casualty did not have a dividend. Now, again, no reason to worry. It's just that, again, remember, dividends look to the past. They actually reflect our MCIT claim history and our experience as well as the performance of our investments. Now, we can only invest as you can, but the claim experience on the property casualty side, again, primarily jail liability, law enforcement liability, again, was a little higher than expected. And as a result, our actuarial studies decided, again, to recommendation of the board, to not return a dividend for 2022 on the property casualty. All right, again, MCIT only, again, provides dividends when it's actuarially sound and fiscally prudent. And so again, we've returned a dividend really every year since MCIT has been formed. Now moving on to the rates, that's kind of the blue box on the second page. Again, MCIT's rates are actuarially derived as well. Now rates look forward. They actually look at our members' exposures, what's necessary to cover all of our exposures for all of our members for those costs for next year, as well as, again, MCIT's operations costs. Now, with that, we try to build in rate stability, helps us smooth out the peaks and valleys of being in a risk-sharing pool, and it helps our members to really budget your coverage costs for the following year. Moving on to the next page. This is the aggregate workers' compensation claims, again, top 3 by department. Now, this is MCIT as a whole, not just Crow Wing County. Again, for the years of 2018 to 2022, both frequency and severity. So frequency would be the number of claims, severity would be the cost of those claims. Now you see sheriff and jail operations has led both in frequency and severity in workers' compensation, followed by highway and then hospital and nursing homes. Now again, this is not really too surprising. All of these departments are really 24/7 operations, and really some of that work can be hazardous. Moving on to the right-hand column, you see the workers' compensation claims, how they can affect Crow Wing County's work comp contribution. Again, what's called a experience modification rate. So MCIT does experience rate workers' compensation. So again, it takes the frequency and the severity of claims in mind, and there's an expected claim activity for each of the classification codes. So each type of jobs will have an expected rating. So if it's 1.0, that's about neutral, or about a base cost, if you will. If the mod is less than 1, that's actually then is a credit mod, and that's actually less than base cost. Over 1.0 would be slightly above base cost. You see, Crow Wing County's experience mod for 2023 is a 1.01. So really, it's only just slightly higher than the 1, and you can see it has an increased cost of $2,801. Now you can see that the Crow Wing County's experience has been decreasing over these last few years. And so we, again, applaud those efforts. Again, those rates, the 2023 mod includes the years of 2019, 20, and 2021. 2022 is really kind of developing yet. So it's those 3 previous years that actually make up that mod. So again, we congratulate everyone's efforts here to try to reduce that experience mod, keep everyone, again, working and even through their modified work. So we congratulate that. Again, we continue to work with the Safety Committee and the Return to Work program. Again, your loss control consultant, Nick Lindberg, is actually coming out tomorrow to work with the Safety Committee and other things. He can also help kind of take another look at some of those specific loss areas. Now, also in 2022, the Workers' Compensation Reinsurance Association, or the WCRA, announced a one-time surplus distribution to all the members. Now, MCIT, we are a member of the Workers' Compensation Reinsurance Association. They provide, the reinsurance coverage for MCIT's work comp. They said this one-time distribution was really due to their excellent investment returns, their reductions in the loss reserve liabilities, also declining claim frequency and some recent legislation. So they actually returned $11.3 million. The board decided to return 9.6 of that to all of our members. And Crow Wing County's share of that surplus distribution was $199,113. So again, that was returned in 2022. So again, a one-time distribution, but everybody, thank you very much, WCRA. And then lastly on that page is the aggregate property casualty claims, again, top 3 by department. And this is MCIT as a whole again. Now, MCIT, we don't experience rate. The property, the casualty, or liability claims are auto. Everybody just kind of pays their exposures. So looking at 2018 to 2022, auto has led in frequency and severity for a number of years. That's why we have a lot of loss control services around auto. We want everybody to get through their day, including every auto, and hopefully, again, no injuries if there are any auto incidents. So again, that's followed by property. Again, not surprising, we have over 11,000 vehicles covered by the trust. The property, and again, over $7.5 billion of all of our members' property, and then followed by liability. So general liability on the frequency side, that's all those slip falls, all those types of general liability claims, and then law enforcement liability is on the severity side. With that, let's move on from coverage. Let's go to the last page. Let's just talk about some of our services. I mentioned consultation. So again, Nick Lindberg is your loss control consultant. I am your risk management consultant. We're here to help. We appreciate when you reach out to us. We're able to help. Again, Nick can help with really the loss control, the safety, drilling into, again, where some of the risks are. And I can help kind of with any of your liability concerns, any of your coverage concerns, really kind of the first call for all of MCIT's services. Here we're just showing, and again, oftentimes work with the agricultural societies, because again, typically they are kind of joined with the county. The county may own buildings or the property, but again, the Ag Society has a number of contents and livestock pens and gates, and we just want to make sure everything is covered. Unfortunately, these storms, and that's where a lot of those big property claims came from, was the storm damage. We want to make sure everything is covered so you can put everything back. The important part is to make sure everything is scheduled, so we're here to help. On the awareness and prevention materials, again, we're proud to say a number of them are award-winning, but again, those are just to assist to prevent losses and reduce some claim severity. A couple of areas that are listed here. One is the essentials of data security for public entities. It is an excellent resource, again, on our website, built by chapters, again, to try to help our counties really build protections and data security. Again, coverage is important. It's protections that is the key. So as best you can, also there's a cybersecurity self-assessment checklist. We strongly encourage, again, taking a good look at these documents as well as a number of others out on our website. We have a new website at mcit.org, so we have a number of other resources out there. And hopefully, again, to try to help our counties, adopt some of these best practices so that you can be better aligned, again, to reduce or really to fight off some of these. Again, there's a lot of bad actors out there, and cyber is becoming a big issue. So protections. Training, we offer a variety of training programs, online, in-person, hybrid. We actually record a number of those trainings. We have a number of items about cyber and others. We have some risk management and workers' compensation workshops. Minnesota Government Data Practices Act is a very popular program, as well as navigating land use decisions, very popular, again, with our commissioners. We just had a hybrid cybersecurity for our county attorneys. That was actually at MCIT. So again, bringing in some of our third-party vendors. Right now, MCIT is actually handling and managing those claims ourselves. We are reinsured, again, by CRL. However, most importantly is really to file those claims immediately. Let us get those third-party folks. They are at your beck and call. So as soon as you think something might be wrong, so again, is to reach out. So different training programs, and then service providers. I just want to chat about those just a little bit. One is our employee assistance program with Sand Creek. I'm going to come back to that one. The Minnesota Safety Council. All members of MCIT are members of the Minnesota Safety Council. Again, all of those resources are available, including their defensive driving class. They have actually a 20-minute online as a good refresher for us all. They also have a 2-hour on-site class taught by the ex-troopers. Again, a great program, all included. I encourage you to really participate in some of those programs. Hartford Steam Boiler does a lot of the inspections, again, of the boilers and pressure vessels. But the Employee Assistance Program, now we consider that, again, a risk management program as well. We encourage people to try to intervene early. Again, our Employee Assistance Program is confidential, it's voluntary, and it's included. Again, up to 6 visits per issue, not per year, per issue. And these last couple of years have been rough. And all of us have had a number of issues. So again, we encourage folks the courage to reach out. Get those information out in front of folks and encourage them to reach out. You actually have some good EAP, usage. So we encourage that. Because again, the more people reach out, really the better. There's also programs for elected officials. There's also programs for law enforcement to help them through their days as well. And then there's a coaching program for supervisors. That is unlimited. Now, again, that's to try to help team building with all of our departments, all of our supervisors. They can reach out at any time to get some assistance. And those services are local. They really try to build those all local here. So that's our Employee Assistance Program. And then lastly, I just want to comment on our commissioners. Again, we thank you for everything that you do to support, again, the county's safety programs, risk management programs. We also, again, remind you, let your knowledge of MCIT's coverage reach out to us in any questions you might have. We greatly appreciate that. Supporting just the safety initiatives and the safety committee, the return to work program, and again, just engaging MCIT, kind of like we're doing here today. So again, we greatly appreciate that opportunity. So with that, on behalf of the MCIT Board of Directors, all of our MCIT service team, we thank you for your ongoing participation, your support, and really your efforts within our risk management program and MCIT program. So thank you so much. That concludes our report, so I'm here for any questions you might have.
Madam Chair, no question, Tom, but as I sit here and watch you, I can tell that you like your job, and it was a good report, and I just got to tell you a quick story, and this is with all due respect. You reminded me of a good friend of mine who's passed away, Marvin Falk, and Marvin, years ago when I was farming, Marvin was selling seed corn, and when he'd come over and he'd be selling his seed corn, he says, "Oh, Lordy." He said, "This seed corn is so good, I just raise my voice because it's so good." He said, "I get all excited about it." And when I saw you all excited about MCIT, I thought, wow, that brought me back to Marvin. Pleasant memories. So, but good job, and I can see you're excited about your job, and I know I appreciate you.
So. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Take
Tom.
care.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Land Services.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We've got a few items on the agenda today requiring action. The first item we have is a land use map amendment request by ESA Holdings LLC. This is located in Section 22 of the First Assessment District. The address is 17300 Gull River Road. The parcels in question are 99220-660, 99220-666, and 99220-671. And the request was to change the land use map from rural residential 10 to rural residential 5, involving approximately 56 acres. So if we look, these are the parcels in question here. This is the gravel pit golf course that's been developed. They actually just got a CUP amendment at the meeting last month to add 10 and a half holes down in this area. And then they also wanted to request to do a land use map amendment to change this from the from R10 to R5. Could we go to the next map down if there's a... So again, here's the parcels in question here. The areas that are in yellow are 2.5 acre zoning. The areas in brown are the R10. The areas in blue are 5. And the more light blue colors here would be the shoreline district. The Planning Commission recommended approval with the attached finding of facts in your packet from the May 18th, 2023 to the County Board to approve the request as submitted, and staff concurs. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have no questions.
Madam Chair, if there's no questions, I would make the motion to approve the petition of ESA Holdings LLC for a land map, use map amendment request based on the findings of fact on file at the Land Services Department.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, a second by Commissioner Lubke. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item we have on the agenda is another land use map amendment. The applicant for this was Michael and Sherry Ann Habighorst, and this is located in Section 15 of Perry Lake Township. And it's adjacent to two addresses of 30416 State Highway 6 and 21637 Larson Road. This is just north of Crosby. The parcels in question for the request are 85150010, 85150507, 85150510, and 85150511. And the request is to go from rural residential 5 to rural residential 2.5 involving approximately 56 acres. So if we look, these are the parcels in question here. This is this Larson up here. This is Highway 6. If we could go to the next map, please. Let's go down one. There we go. So what you see here is all the areas that are in blue again are the RR5. This is the R10. This is R20 over here. And so the request is to rezone this from R5 to 2.5. The Planning Commission did make a recommendation at the meeting on May 18th, 2023 to recommend approval to the County Board with the attached findings of fact, and staff concurs with that decision and would recommend approval.
Any questions?
I'll make the motion to approve the amendment of the land use map.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We have the one more land use map amendment request to be considered. This is for Kathleen Peterson. This is located in Section 25 of Timothy Township. It's located just south of County Road 1 and is also adjacent to the city of Manhattan Beach there, as you can see on the east side. The request today is for parcel number 922-50511 to be amended from rural residential 5 to rural residential 2.5 involving approximately 6.7 acres. Like I said, this is the city of Manhattan Beach here. This is the parcel in question. You have County Road 1 to the north. If we could go to the next map, please. One more down. There we go. And so there again, this is the city. This is all RR5, and then what you've got here is the 10, 20, and then the little shoreline down here. And the request is to go from R5 to rural residential 2.5. She looks to be just separating off one of those lots on that parcel is her ultimate goal. The Planning Commission did review this at their meeting on May 18th of 2023 and recommended approval to the County Board with the attached finding of fact on file with Land Services. And staff concurs and would recommend approval.
Any questions?
No questions. I would make the motion to again amend the land use map.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hoag, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is a preliminary plat for Butternut Properties LLC for the preliminary plat of Butternut DC 49. This is located in Section 14 of Ideal Township, and the property address is 36463 Butternut Point Road, Pequot Lakes. The parcel number in question on this is 68140586. And what the request was a preliminary plat for a conservation development to allow 7 individual lots for residential dwellings and 1 outlot. And so for those who may not know, this is the old Butternut Point Resort. They went through a conditional use permit back in 2001 for a resort conversion. And so when you do that, you get to basically have what was on the site when it was converted. And so each one of these cabins here now, and this would have been the old the lodge. There's going to be 7 individual units there, and then the rest of the area is going to be common open space. You can see that they have to consolidate their docks down into this area here. This is a boat access that was there as part of the resort that's allowed to remain. And then one of the conditions of a couple conditions that were put on the plat were that these docks are going to have to remain over on this part of the property and not over on this area here, because you've got some really steep slopes and a lot of bluff. This has a lot more flat slope, and topography makes more sense to have the docks in this location. Any jet skis will be located within their little cove here that they would have. And then they'd also have to follow conditions from their February 8th of 2001 conditional use permit. That has been verified by staff to make sure that they're in compliance with the CUP that was approved back in 2001. The Planning Commission reviewed this at their meeting on May 18th, 2023, and recommended approval to the County Board to approve the preliminary plat as submitted with the attached findings of fact. Staff has reviewed and concur with that and would recommend approval. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve that preliminary plat for Butternut Point. I see that the township weighed in on it, and they did not have any concerns.
Township was in support. They actually were part of the on-site visit we did before the meeting, and Township was in full support of it.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lubke, second by Commissioner Coring. Is there any discussion?
Can I just ask one quick question? Chris, when you say conversion, you mean it means converting from a resort to individual ownership, or what?
Yeah, yes, exactly. So a resort conversion basically is taking a commercial use of that property and converting it to residential use. So at one point that was zoned commercial for the resort, and when they did that conditional use permit back in 2001, it was basically get that zoning into that residential use, and then the cabins they have there then would be allowed to remain and be used for residential purposes. So the family has owned this for many, many years, and it's just become to the point now where they are choosing to want to parcel it off and sell them as individual lots.
So it's just kind of an odd question, kind of curiosity question. I don't suppose you have any conversions the other way. Like, let's say I own 4 houses and they're all on the lake, and I say I'd like to convert into a resort.
Sure.
Does that ever happen?
It hasn't happened since I've been here. Typically, we haven't seen any new resorts. We've seen expansion to resorts and that sort of a thing. So if somebody were to want to come in today and say, I'd like to create a new resort, they'd have to be located in a waterfront commercial or commercial 1 or 2 zoning. And then there's some requirements to the ordinance as far as lot width, lot size, and then there's density requirements and things that they have to do. We haven't seen any new resorts, but we definitely have seen some expansions to existing resorts to assist with that.
Well, I will say, Madam Chair, that I think it's bad for everybody that we're kind of, in essence, kind of losing mom and pop resorts, because that's the only way that people that can't afford to live on a lake, that's kind of, in essence, kind of their only access, or, well, they might, a short-term rental maybe, but still, I think it's sad that, like this, a mom and pop resort, I just hate to see those. And I know it's been a long time that's been gone, but I just, I don't know, I don't like to see it.
Madam Chair. Chris, I know you're not on the tax side of it, but we just went through that last night. So when something like this breaks up, then that changes what that property is. Will that change that as far as a taxable entity, so it'll be
That's
taxed
a
by
great
each.
question, and if it's okay, I think I just flipped that football to Gary, because luckily he's...
Yeah, I was wondering if
I
it'd
don't
be
have the
okay if
answer to
Gary
that,
could come up
I'm
and
not
ask
smart enough to
it.
figure that out, so...
Because at one time it was taxed as a whole unit, now it's actually being broken apart.
Correct. Good morning, Commissioners. Taxes aside, I can talk about the value real quick. How that'll be valued is the lake lot will be valued as its shoreline or lake lot value with steep bluff on one side, pretty good sandy beach on the point. And then what we do is, I think this plat, they're all gonna have equal share of that common land, so then each one, every of those 7 lots are gonna get an equal share of the common lot. And so then, I think it's like a $5 million piece of property currently on the assessment roll. You know, each one of those little cabins will probably be $1 million, probably $2 million on the lodge, somewhere in there, for valuation standpoint moving forward.
It was just a question. I didn't know how that was handled. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, all this plat is doing is just putting property lines around the buildings so that they can be sold individually, and then people can, if they need to buy or get a mortgage, then there's fee title land there that they can, that a bank will accept, so they can get a mortgage if they choose to buy.
Well, we've had a motion and a second, and is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We have one more preliminary plat request. This is for John and Bernadine Job. It's the preliminary plat of Half Moon Acres. This is located in Section 23 of Lake Edward Township. Parcel number is 73230566. Property address is 11496 Half Moon Drive, Merrifield. This is a property that's a little unique in that it's a long and skinny one. And so it reaches all the way, does actually have riparian access out to, out on Lake Edward. And so what the proposal is to, this is the existing house here. They're breaking off this, there's gonna be an easement that's gonna come from here, up and over, and then this is gonna be the new lot that's being proposed, as you see here. And it meets all of our requirements. It's just interesting because it's long and narrow, but it does have access to get out to Lake Edward. And so this plat, one of the things that had to happen was that there was a septic system on this property had to be upgraded, which it has been. And then they also needed to have verify that there were adequate septic sites on both properties, which there are. And then the other one is that the requirement is that the plat description, this property here, now that it's broken off this from the lake access, this does no longer have legal access to get out to Lake Edward. That is because it's now a non-riparian lot, and this is now the new riparian lot that's being created as part of the plat. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their meeting on May 18th, 2023, and they recommended approval with the attached findings of fact. Staff has reviewed and concur and would recommend approval as submitted.
I have a couple questions. On page 255, it says the request is to review the proposal for preliminary plat, Half Moon Acres 2, but then in parentheses it says 22 total lots.
Typo.
Okay.
Just a typo.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's supposed to just say 2. Yeah, you see it says 2 and then 20. It was just a, you
It's
must
just a
have
typo,
typed
okay.
too quick on one finger.
And then
so-
it says a variance for
Correct.
road.
Yep, so that's one of the
32.
changes that was made to the land use ordinance as far as subdivision. And so you can see here that they've got an easement here to get back to there. And 66 feet was just too wide. It didn't fit in with what they're proposing because of wetland location and that. And so they applied to the Board of Adjustment for a variance to go from 66 feet to 33 feet, and that was approved by the Board of Adjustment.
Well, on page 240, number 5, it does talk about a driveway. When it only goes to 2 properties, is it actually a road or is it a driveway?
Well, one of the situations we run into is because when we plat everything, that does become technically a road because it's a plat. And so,
Okay.
so that's why we have to meet that.
So is this a private road, a township road? What kind of road is this then?
That will be up to the, they will be working with Lake Edward Township on determining if it's going to be a public road or a private road. My assumption is that it's going to be a private road maintained. It's going to be more of a driveway is how it's really going to function. But that'll be between them and the township to get that figured out.
And I understand why it's being done, and I think it's a good idea in this, but I just hate to go against our ordinance so that we've just decided that
Well,
everything needs
and
a
I-
66-foot roadway.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. I think what you're going to find with the current ordinance as it is, that you're going to see some subdivisions that probably aren't typical plats when you go from just creating 2 lots. I mean, that's not typically a...
That's not
your
the
typical plat. So, I mean, a typical plat that would have a roadway would be something where you might see, you know,
And I
4
guess
to-
that's
4 to
why,
8, 4
I guess
lots
that's
or
why
more.
I asked about the 22, because if it was going to be 22, I was going to vote no on this.
No, it's just the 2, you're creating 1 lot technically, and the remaining lot with the house on it, so. So that's one of the requirements of now we have to plat everything riparian. You're gonna see some of these coming through with these small 2-lot plats.
Could I have our county engineer give us some input here?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, my understanding is that this is in Lake Edward Township, is that right, Chris?
Yep.
It is.
So the road work that we did to do a road standard was for the first assessment district only. And so it will be up to these townships to decide, and I just wanted to make that clarification.
And we didn't get any feedback from the township through the process, so.
All right. Is there any more discussion? Do you have any?
No, Madam Chair, but I know that sometimes I think we have 300 pages today and
Actually, we have 403.
403. So it
I'm
just
glad nobody's counting.
it shows the chair has done her homework as always. 22 or 2, I never caught
Page
that.
255, line item.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the preliminary plat for Half Moon Acres.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barrow, second by Commissioner Coring. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. We have one other item on the agenda for me to cover, and as a reminder, at our meeting last month, we updated the golf court ordinance requests for first and second assessment districts to allow the county board to make those decisions directly. And since the meeting that we had last month, I've received a request from Dutch Cragen, and he's requested to utilize Pine Beach Road, County Road 77 at the Gull River Bridge to be able to use that for golf carts. You can see on the map here, it's basically from this approach here over to this approach area over here. That's where he's going to be using the area where snowmobiles cross over on that bridge. And so you have the request is in your packet dated May 23rd, and that's the request from Mr. Cragen today, is to allow this for golf carts.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I would make the motion,
Is there a second?
the request for board action.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Hoag. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You didn't want to ask them about that meeting tonight?
Good morning.
Good morning. Before you, I have the landfill cleanup agreement. It's been a long time coming. I just wanted to give you a little background on it quick. This closure of solid waste, permitted solid waste 111 landfill, we accepted waste into this landfill from 1974 to 1990. We were approved to enter the closed landfill program in 1993, and we set up a fund to establish, to pay for those post-closure activities. We had 20 years of post-closure maintenance that we were required to do, which included groundwater and landfill gas monitoring, operating the gas system, erosion and settlement repairs, grass mowing, and annual surveying. In 2013, after the 20-year post-closure, the county requested that the post-closure period be terminated. And between 2013 and 2015, the county and the MPCA agreed on the custodial care plan. In 2017, we worked to modify the closed landfill statute to include this landfill and the adjacent Potlatch sludge area. And then the MPCA drafted the binding agreement for the transfer of this landfill into the closed landfill program, and it took until fall of 2019 to receive that draft for review. We've gone through many edits, as a lot of you have seen, since then to agree on access, definitions, county versus MPCA responsibility, and all the little details, and we finally agreed to language in 2021. And since then, we had to find the utility easements on that solid waste property. We found one, the Minnesota Power, which we went through at the last county board, and you approved that. That agreement defined the easement area and confirmed that Minnesota Power and MPCA agree to let each other have access to the property to conduct their business. This closed landfill program, once the county or the landfill is in the program, the county will complete gas monitoring monthly and probes next to our county offices just for safety reasons. Otherwise, the MPCA will complete all other monitoring and maintenance and any investigation or remediation that needs to be done. So essentially, the full liability of that landfill is now transferred to the MPCA from Crow Wing County.
Any discussion? Well, do we have a motion for the agreement?
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion to authorize entering into an agreement between Crow Wing County and the Commissioner of the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency for landfill cleanup, authorizing the chair and the county administrator to sign said agreement, subject to review as to form and execution by the county attorney.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barrows, second by Commissioner Hoag. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Administrative Services, American Rescue Plan Act.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Before you this morning, we have Phase 2, or could also be looked at as the final phase of the distribution of the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, grant dollars. If you recall, in January of 2022, you had decided to do a daycare grant program with some of those ARPA dollars, and you allocated $800,000 worth of grants toward daycare, creating new daycare slots in Crow Wing County. We had approximately about $180,000 of that original $800,000 did not get claimed. There were a couple of projects that did not move forward with their proposed projects, which left about $180,000 remaining in that original $800,000 allocation. So you also authorized to do a second round of daycare grants here earlier this spring. We did receive applications for significantly above the $180,000 amount that was available. Grants were reviewed, applications were reviewed by the ARPA committee, and the recommendation was to award the additional $180,000 to about 16 new grantees for establishments that did not receive grant funding in the first round. So this is again to create additional slots and retain existing daycare slots in Crow Wing County. So the recommendation there is to award the 16 grants in the total amount of $180,000. Additionally, in March of 2022, you also awarded infrastructure grants to the 3 sanitary sewer districts within Crow Wing County. And Serpent Lake Sanitary Sewer District did contact us earlier this year and noted that the cost of their project had increased by about $50,000 since they had originally received the quotes, Since they had installed what they needed, the scope of their system was a little larger than what they originally anticipated. So they were asking for an additional $50,000 to make that project complete as well. So the recommendation would be to approve that $50,000 increase also, which would close out your ARPA granting program.
Debbie, I think, did we determine the daycare grants will create about 200 slots?
A little
I
over
believe,
200
approximately?
slots, yes.
Which is a pretty good bang for a buck for
Correct.
180,000, so.
And then, Madam Chair, and also, Deb, I think that we kind of thought that the way we distributed these grants kind of strengthened the current slots that were there too. So I don't know, I personally feel like the money that we spent actually went to the core of what we wanted to do, is increase some more slots and strengthen the ones that are currently there. So I think we've achieved that. We actually have given away this money, well, it's borrowed money from China, but we've given a lot of it back to the community. If you remember when the pandemic was going on, we gave a lot of $10,000 grants out, which I think like Oak Lawn and I don't know if Oak Lawn got, I can't remember now, but gave a lot of grants that I think actually helped people. So we actually gave a lot of the money that we received back to the community, which I think is a good thing. So this closes it out. I'm glad it's done. Hopefully they don't borrow any more money from another country and give it out.
Would you like to make a motion to approve the recommended grant awards?
Yes, I would move the recommended board action to give these grants out and to close out our ARPA.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Coring, second by Commissioner Hoag. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, can I say one other thing? You know, Tyler's not here, Tyler Glenn from Bladek. I think a thank you needs to go out to them because they were really critical in helping us to
Yes, they were.
send out these grant dollars, and I know and I can speak for the entire board that I think we really appreciate their help, so.
Yep, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, County Sheriff.
Good morning, County Commissioners.
Good
Madam
morning.
Chair.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Well, I've been in this job for about 6 months now, and I guess I won't be working myself out of a job anytime soon. It's been steady and busy, and when Bob was talking up there about the MCIT trust and our liabilities and the severity, and the sheriff's office is always on the high end of that, and I can attest to that because since I've been here, I don't think we've had any extra patrol cars because we've hit many deer this year, and so we're kind of struggling for cars, and we're trying to order cars and they don't come, and we finally got one that came, but then we're missing the cage, so can't even get that on the road. But we did finally get that on the road, or it will be on the road maybe next week. And you might see a little bit of different look to those cars as well. They changed the graphics on it a little bit, so you'll see there will be black and white, I think, and you'll see that maybe in a couple weeks. So I wanted to also mention that we are on quarter 2 with the Drug Task Force. I think I was here once before and told you that, it's been kind of concerning that we've had, that first quarter, we never did anything with meth. It was all fentanyl. And again, on quarter 2, I would say we're still in that same boat, unfortunately. So I have had a lot of drug seizures. We took about $30,000 in cash off of a drug dealer, and we've been taking a lot of edibles and some higher THC cartridges for vaping, which is kind of concerning because that usually goes hand in hand with young people, which is unfortunately unfortunate. But our lady guys have been really busy, and we're making a dent in that. Legislatively, we've been, I still don't understand it all yet. I hope to in a short order and be able to give you a better report maybe the next time I'm up here. But there's going to be obviously a lot of changes with the drugs and the amount that you can have, and the edibles and the drinks and all that stuff. And it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Although disappointed that a lot of that legislation passed, I hopefully we'll be able to continue to do our good efforts and stop those that are abusing it as well. So let's see what else I got. Mental health. We've since January or right around there, we started working with an embedded mental health worker that we've had in our office, and we've been really doing good work with that. We've trained all our officers and deputies in the county to in our records management system, we have this attribute that we flag, and we put that person or that call under a mental health call, so we're able to reach out to these folks immediately, and that's been very successful. I'm very pleased with that program. I'm very pleased with our partnership with Community Services and in bringing that mental health worker alongside us. It's working in our building day in and day out, so it's been really good. We want to try to keep those people out of the jail. That's not where they belong. They belong where they can get the proper help that we can offer. So very pleased about that. I guess one of the other things that we're kind of working on is a big thing, and my stuff is not exactly as exciting as Bob had his stuff, but I hope you find a little bit of interest in it as well. But one of the good things that we're working on too right now is this records management system. Last time I was sheriff back in '02, that's one of the things that we worked on as a big project. This is a joint records management system that every agency in the county uses. So we've been working with vendors trying to identify a proper RFP to see if they can meet that RFP rather. And we've been looking at that and excited about opportunities the development of the RMS has changed quite considerably from when that started back in 2002. So we have some really good stuff that's happening with that record management system that we'll be able to use to benefit us and do our good work that we do day in and day out, not just with the sheriff's office, but with all our stakeholders and partners across Crow Wing County. So any questions or any concerns or compliments?
Madam Chair, actually, I do have a compliment, it's okay to speak. I just want to say, and I know I can speak for the entire board. I know I'm not supposed to be speaking for the entire board, but I can speak for the entire board that we appreciate the good working relationship that we've had over the last 6 months. You're showing up at budget, you're showing up at personnel, you're totally engaged in letting us know what's going on in your department, because obviously we're in charge of the purse strings, and this is a working relationship. I think it was after budget last Thursday, Commissioner Hogue and myself, I don't know that I've ever taken a tour of the jail, and this is my 11th year here. So I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I haven't taken a tour, and thank God I've never had to be over there. But we went over and took a look. It continues to be a challenge for the sheriff's department to hire people. Obviously, with all that's going on in the world, this defund the cops and all this other bull crap is what it is I'm surprised anybody wants to go into law enforcement, and I commend you guys for even being in this job. Commissioner Hogue and myself talked to your jailers over there, which is a very, very difficult job. There's a lot of mental health problems. Somebody comes in there drunk. I think Heath said over Memorial Weekend you had 32 arrests. So it's it's a job. People, yesterday we had I don't know, it was like a 6-hour meeting, and people are wondering where the taxes are being spent. Well, it's being spent to put the bad guys away. I used to do the medical examiner calls, and Eric knows this, and I picked up a lot of people. I can remember picking up, I'm not going to say the name, but I picked up a young man who was he's just a very young man, and a drunk driver ran head on into him and killed him. And we can't let that happen.
Right.
We got to
That's
keep
right.
we got to keep these guys. There's people off the road that are drinking and driving. I mean, you'd think they'd be smart enough by now, but I just know that you're doing the best job you can, and I just want you to know that I appreciate you and the work you're doing. And it's funny how things change. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and everybody was snorting the white stuff up their nose. It was cocaine.
Yes.
And it's funny how it's changed from, I don't even know if there's any cocaine anymore. It's just going from one to the, now it's fentanyl. And I watched some narcos on National Geographic, and this guy's making these fentanyl pills.
Yeah.
And they're all putting them in a bag, and it looked like those candy. Usually I'd grab those by the handful and pop them in,
Right.
and boy,
Yeah.
do that and you're going to be a dead
Right.
guy, So anyway, I know that Commissioner Lubke's went over to the jail. I encourage all the commissioners to go over there and to continue to support our law enforcement people, because when you call 911, you expect people to show up and anyway, I guess that's it. I'm kind of
Yeah, no, I
but-
appreciate that feedback, and I know that I certainly have appreciated you guys and your interest in law enforcement and what we do over there and your partnership, and I certainly appreciate Dr. Hull's input and value his opinions and his help, in the 6 months that I've been there. So I, thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you very
Appreciate it,
much.
Sheriff.
Thank you.
I see the county attorney's online. Do you have something for us, Don?
I don't have anything to share today, but I can certainly answer any questions anybody may have.
Any questions? Well, thank you, Don. I
Thanks.
guess
Have a good day, everybody.
you too. County Administrator.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we had a senior management team meeting yesterday, and big surprise recruitment is on our list of topics. And to Commissioner Coring's point, there are jobs that we are offering in the community, and we are experiencing more difficulty in filling those jobs. And so I would encourage anybody who's listening to check out our website. There's a careers tab on the front page. Always looking for correctional officers. It is a challenging environment. It's also a meaningful environment. As you see folks who struggle with their mental health problems or their chemical addiction problems, and some of them can achieve stability. And so I think that if you're looking for a job that has a real meaning to it, that you're going to make a difference in other people's lives, check out our website. We have some real important jobs to be done in our community. We pay decent. Good pension plan, so I encourage anybody listening. We also talked about legislative changes regarding paid leaves in particular. I think we're a little bit concerned about the paid leave program. It will extend this paid leave program to temporary employees, so think about our AIS inspectors, our boat and water. We're not obligated to pay it out when they leave at the end of the year, but they can accumulate it. Well, if they accumulate it, they're going to use it if we don't pay it out. So that's going to be a new benefit set that we did not offer before to temporary employees. There are also provisions that relate to full-time employees. It's a little bit less clear yet, so we're still trying to figure out exactly what it is that got changed there. And to the sheriff's point, this legislative session has so many things that got done. Last legislative session, I was complaining nothing got done. This legislative session, I'm complaining too much got done. So apparently, I'm never happy. We're going to have to sort through all of those impacts to county government, and there are resources that are coming, and is it a net gain or is it a net cost? I can't tell quite yet. I think it's a net gain probably. And so we're going to have to sort through all of those legislative changes. I think normally by this time, we'd have a summary from either AMC or MICA. We don't have one yet, and I think it's just a reflection of the fact that it was that busy of a session, that many things were passed. So we're going to have to sort that out. I thought I would have it by now. I still don't have it, so I'm still waiting for that. We also talked about our non-contract employees. There is still, I suppose it's a surprise to folks, that there is still a small group of employees here who are not represented by any bargaining units. They're not in a union. And so we also need to make sure that we're going to be paying competitively there. You know, with our unions, it's a once every 3-year opportunity to have a conversation about, are we right on the market? With our non-union employees, we have to make sure that we are treating them at least equally well, and making sure that it is market competitive pay. We haven't looked at that in a long time, so we talked about we're moving that forward too as part of the budget process for 2024. Happy to answer questions about that or anything else related to county government.
Any questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, no questions for Dr. Houle, but I guess we have our great county engineer here, and I guess if it's okay with you, Madam Chair, I'd like to have, not to put you on the spot, but I'm sure you're used to it, but the county board has authorized millions and millions and millions of dollars this year to do a lot of roundabouts, Ojibwe and Nashway, and so I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be in order to give an update. I think I did actually drive on Ojibwe, and we need rain, but I think the lack of rain has actually helped that project. Otherwise, they would have been flooded out. So I don't know, I guess. And then I want to know about my Chevron signs on 139. I can see the look on his face.
Tall order.
I know.
Don't mind being put on the spot. Madam Chair and Commissioners, I'm happy to provide an update. We are installing on the county system 4 roundabouts. One is scheduled to open today, so I'm happy to report that the one south of Cross Lake at the intersection of CSAH 3 and CSAH 11 is planned to be open today. And that's a welcome thing for the community of Cross Lake. One of the things we did differently on that one is to provide an incentive to the contractor to finish by July 4th, and they have done so if it does in fact open today and everything looks like it's on schedule.
Madam Chair, just to interject on that, I haven't had anybody in Cross Lake in that area that's complained about how that roundabout has been done, especially in the fact that you've allowed it to go around. I mean, a lot of times you'll get complaints, but it's like, no, that one there is, they're pretty excited about that one. A little more than we were on the one a little further into Cross Lake, but.
Yes, we are always looking for ways to minimize impact to not only businesses but the traveling public, and there was an opportunity to work with a key landowner there to provide a bypass of the construction area, and we're going to continue to look for those opportunities because we know that these are impactful. The good thing is we're setting the bar pretty high in terms of getting them done. The one at Beaver Dam and Wise Road was that was done last year, was done in pretty short order. This one was done in shorter time than that. In rural settings, that's possible. In urban settings, it's a little more challenging. So they're not all the same. I wouldn't expect any urban one to be done in 5 or 6 weeks like this one is maybe done. We're also at the other roundabout that's under construction right now is with our partner in Nisswa. It's right at the intersection of Nokomis and 77, right at the front door, so to speak, of Grandview Lodge. That one also has a first left of paving, and we're on track to open that after the 4th of July, talking to the contractors. So that one's well on its way. We're also going to start another roundabout we're helping our partner, MnDOT partner, on Trunk Highway 210 on the east side of Crosby at our CSAH 31. That one's been a couple years in the design process and working through, again, with MnDOT. That, I think, actually some very preliminary stuff on construction. It started this week. It's not impacting traffic, but over the course of the next week or so, you're going to start to see some impacts and detours of the trunk highway traffic, and that'll have some impacts right up front. Normally, these detours takes a while for people to get used to them, so there may be some complaints, and we'll iron that out. We might have to adjust some signing and things like that. Let's see, the other roundabout is, there's some preliminary work. It's with our partner Baxter. They're extending Cypress Drive down to intersect with Kossuth 48. So if you think of south of the T-Hive and that area there, they're moving it down. They're advancing their initiative to create parallel corridors to Trunk Highway 371. So this is their next endeavor. That I haven't been out there recently. They've done some preliminary work. I think they're going to be starting pretty quickly there, and there'll be some impacts and maybe even some detours associated with that. We've done some mill and overlay work. Some FAD roads were overlaid that received a fresh layer of pavement over the last week. Anderson Brothers, one of our also strong partners, has a lot of the jobs, and so they're even three of the four roundabouts, I believe, that they are involved with, and so they're managing their crews to get to all of our projects. I feel we'll deliver everything on time and on budget. So I think that's a quick update. I don't do much quick, but
How about Ojibwe and?
Ojibwe, jeez,
Not the
I've only worked on it for
only the
9
biggest project of the
Only,
year.
well, the most expensive,
Yeah.
for sure. And, that's maybe a testament to how well it's going. I've forgotten how well, because it's going so well, I think I've talked to each of the commissioners and the phone's not ringing. And, that's not the only barometer of how things are going. But in that project where we've worked on for 9 years and so much consternation, it's nice to have, it be quiet for a while. So thank you for reminding me about that. It is going well. We are communicating with the public in ways that we've never done before. We're successfully leveraging the Everbridge system. This is the emergency management system, I would say, that to sign up for alerts for weather and flooding and those kind of things. We were able to work with our emergency management team here at Crow Wing County to provide updates via text, email, and even phone call, if you would like, for where the contractor is working on County Road 115. We know it's a sensitive area. We know it's a well-used area. It's summer peak, and we're trying to keep the construction sections in 500-foot sections per day. It's not a traditional construction where we just take all the pavement off and people just have to deal with 2 miles of dirt forever. We're trying to do it in small sections, and our contractor, Borden Excavating, is doing a great job of managing that and meeting the expectations of the public in just small sections while still making progress every day. So we're on track with that, and I don't know exactly when, like curb and gutter and that stuff is coming, but we're still trying to get the road graded properly, and we're doing it small sections at a time. Okay. Anything else I forgot?
Chevron signs?
Chevron signs, we've talked about Chevron signs down on County Road 139 in that location. I have no update for you right now. I have talked to my staff about it.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move, no, I don't move, I'm just,
Any other updates I can provide for you?
nope, I think you guys are doing a great job. Lots, for 38 or 39 people in your department, you guys are getting a lot of stuff.
37 and we're short.
37 years short, there you go.
Yeah, we have a lot of horsepower, and we're leveraging some partnerships with both consultants and our government partners to deliver a lot of this work too. So we are what we used to call in the military force multiplier. So when we're partnering, we can deliver much more than it was if it was just alone.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Tim.
Madam Chair, if I might, I have a couple of things I would like to note of significance. And as my wife would remind me, it's always about you, Steve, that June 18th is Father's Day, and that we should all remember our fathers and what they gave to us and what we give to our offspring. So please remember that. Again, that is about Steve and what happens in our household. June is Dairy Month. We want to remember the egg
Amen,
business.
amen to that.
And with that, on Monday, June 5th, the University of Minnesota Extension staff and the board went out and honored this year the Travis Malloy Farm. They raise Kobe Wagyu bovine, cows for the most of us that don't know anything about farming, which originally came from Japan, the most tenderized steak in the world. I looked it up, 12-ounce steak will cost you or start at about $199.95.
Lord.
So you better enjoy it if you purchase it. But congratulate.
They've got some in Costco right now for only $99.99.
Wow.
Wow.
So they raise them, and I know they sell them to a farmer in South Dakota or where they butcher them and that. But so congratulations to that family. I know there's a wife there. I've only mentioned Travis, and there's 4 young potential farmers for the future in that family. So congratulations to them. They'll be recognized at the county fair in August. And with that, Madam Chair, if there's nothing else.
No, there is.
Oh.
There is. I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
The county engineer, I just got one more question. We've got a resident who lives right off of Wise Road, and I think a update for Wise Road, what's going to happen there would probably be in order. Right, Bruce? Perfect.
That's right.
What's wrong with perfect? What's going on with Wise Road?
The Wise Road right currently, and I haven't checked recently, is August timeframe. Again, we're working.
Mill and overlay?
It is what we call a reclaim, so we're gonna get down into the gravel, we're gonna take
Okay.
it all off. It's a little challenging because it's in some poor soil areas. You can think of all the swamp and the high water table there. So, we're real careful about getting too deep, and that's why it's moving a lot and how tough a shape
But
it's in.
that'll be all,
That contributes.
Wise Road will all be resurfaced, hopefully by freeze up.
Yes, and then also we're gonna do some signal work at 371. We're working with MnDOT also to install what we call a flashing yellow. So you see in these pop up all around. Right now is what you call a green ball, I would call it. Just you have to yield.
Yep.
And sometimes that's a little tricky. So we're gonna improve that at the same time.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
And
Is there
Madam Chair,
any
could I have,
additional
could I,
business?
could I have one other additional business? She's sitting right there, our great county auditor. I don't know if you're ready, but I think at some point, and if you're not ready today, that's fine, but after the legislative session, I don't know if you've had time. I know that there's been a kookamongus amount of changes election-wise, and you're our election expert. I'm just wondering if you wanted to give an update today or at some point. I think the public would like to know what has happened this legislative session. I know that there's some crazy mandates that I think we might have to be pushing back on. I don't know if we can or not, but.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Coring, yes, you are correct. There were a lot of election law changes in the last session. I'm working on a summary of what all of those are and effective dates and impacts and all of that. I'm shooting for July, maybe committee of the whole or at a board meeting to kind of give you an update of where those things are at this point. My summary is about 6 pages right now, so that's just kind of gives you an idea of how many law changes that we're talking about. It will have some big impacts starting already in 2024 with some additional impacts coming further down the line as well. There are some additional mandates that are going to end up costing us some money. As Tim was mentioning, there are things that we got to figure out if it's a net gain, net loss kind of thing. There's also additional resources that are coming in regard to election administration as well. But we'll have to look at what that tie-out is. I did hear from AMC yesterday that they are shooting for the end of June for their summary of election, and I believe Micah is probably in the same boat. So I'm guessing we will probably not have a summary of legislative impact until probably sometime in July.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Good, Deb. Anything else?
Yeah, anything else?
No, I don't think so. Oh, the
Madam Chair?
document.
Debbie will be too modest to mention, but she just recently was elected to be president of the Minnesota Association of County Officers, which is the professional association for auditor, treasurers, and recorders around the state of Minnesota. Recognized as both an election expert, but also an expert in a broader field as well. So congratulations, or my sympathies, I'm not sure which.
I have nothing else.
Oh, really?
Does anyone besides Paul?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.